we're getting kicked out of the house. And me being 11 and a half, 12 years old at the time, like, what the hell?
What happened afterwards?
Misha Charoudin, YouTuber, entrepreneur, and one of the biggest racing influencers in the world.
I was born in Russia back in 1989. Up until I started to work when I was 15 and a half years old, I wouldn't get anything other than food at home and one set of clothes and shoes on my birthday. I have enough money to go buy designer fashion brands and stuff, but you would see me wearing the same hoodie for months because that's how I've been brought up. Then when we moved to the Netherlands with my mom together after she divorced my dad because my dad didn't want to come with us. Later at a certain point, I think it was 2018, I found out through his sister, my aunt, that he was diagnosed with cancer. One of the last things he told me, like, that he was extremely proud of me. And that was one of the last things, and was one of the first times I heard him say that, you know.
When did you meet your wife?
I posted a picture on Instagram, a story, and then she said,
What do I need to know about you to understand how you became the person who's sitting in front of me today? If we start with your upbringing.
I was born in Russia back in 1989, so officially in my passport it says I was born in Soviet Union even.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I grew up there in Moscow up until I was 11 years old, and then I moved to the Netherlands. My parents divorced when I was 9 years old, so up until that time, actually, the upbringing was amazing, happy, a very good family. My grandma contributed a lot to my upbringing because she was one of the very few fortunate people in the Soviet Union that was allowed to travel and see the world because she was part of the Soviet orchestra. So she was playing an orchestra, and therefore she was allowed to travel the world and know a lot about the world itself, and she was highly educated herself. So when my parents were working, she was actually taking care of me and talking me through the world, why it is important to be polite, why it's important to be, like, all these traditional 18th century French book values, you know. And then, of course, my parents, who gave me all the love and everything in the world. So I had the very important features of upbringing as a small kid. Then when we moved to the Netherlands with my mom together after she divorced my dad, which was also the reason of her wanting to move abroad for a better future for me. So that's why the divorce came, basically, because my dad didn't want to come with us. She married another guy, and that was not so nice because he had alcoholic addiction. There was... Without going into details, it was not nice, basically. So then I got to see the completely other side of the world, or like the other side of the upbringing of family values, of how it shouldn't be, basically. I got also to see and to experience how it is not to have a lot. At one point, we got also kicked out of our house without, well, one day before it happened, the gentleman my mom was married to decided to notify us, oh, by the way, we're getting evicted tomorrow, because he would hide all the bills. So I came home one day, and my mom was crying on the couch, and she just said, like, well, yeah, well, we're getting kicked out of the house tomorrow. And me being 11 and a half, 12 years old at the time, like, what the hell? Well, fast forward a bit later, of course, with my family, we still had to recover from these problems. So long story short, up until I started to work myself when I was 15 and a half years old, I wouldn't get anything other than food at home and one set of clothes and shoes on my birthday. So, and whatever would be left over through the years accumulated. So actually, as of now, that's another thing, because you ask how I am today, where I'm coming from. I have enough money to go buy designer fashion brands and stuff, but you would see me wearing the same hoodie for months, the same shirt for months, the same pair of shoes, same pair of driving shoes. If you look at my videos or the pictures from races, you would see beautiful shiny suit because we got the race suits from the race team, but extremely dirty, worn out shoes.
Yeah.
Because that's how I been brought up. I know, like, as long as they're working and I don't have sometimes literal holes in them, then that's fine. So that's basically the person I am today. So the long story short, I know the basic values. I know importance of family values. I know how it is not to have a lot in life. This is why I'm also trying to focus a lot on my family right now. So my wife and my kid. After fighting actually a lot over the last years to become independent and get businesses or be successful in something what I do and like, to actually now not really stepping away from it, but dedicate more time to my family, because I know at the end of the day this is probably the most important thing. Not probably, it is. So, but yeah, that passion behind me of being the best at a certain thing, or try to give it all and trying all at the same time, is of course also, there's always constant fight between the two things. So that's the short version of it.
How was your relationship with your mom when you grew up?
I think it was always good in general. I think when I grew up, so of course I was always behind her. I would support her. I would understand her. I would always love her, and still do. At a certain point, when you become a teenager or going into, like, you become, what's it called? You're going through the puberty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and you be like, especially with the difficult situation we had at home, with her still sticking to the abusive person that she was married at the time. At some point, I became also quite upset with it, and I said, "Why are you choosing for him and not for your children?" Because I have also like a brother that she, a son. She had a son with the new husband that she married to. So yeah, that was a bit of not understanding from my side. And then of course I moved out of the house because I just had enough of it. And then we had like maybe 1 or 2 years where we wouldn't talk to each other until she showed that she actually would choose for me instead of for the other person. And yeah, that showed.
How was your relationship with your dad when you grew up?
Extremely good. When I was growing up until he decided to divorce and go with another woman. That's what he did, of course. But even after that, I was extremely loving, extremely caring, even after years of, I wouldn't say neglect, but having wrong priorities maybe, because he got married to another woman and he would spend more time with her. And I don't know what was happening in his life. Maybe she was actively pushing him away from me, which is highly possible. It's not the first time to happen like that in life. Later at a certain point, I think it was 2018, I found out through his sister, my aunt, that he was diagnosed with cancer, which was at that point probably treatable. But because his wife at the time was highly religious, and she would say, "God will help you. It's going to be fine. Don't go to the doctors." It ended up not being treatable. But even at that point, after being neglected for so many years and being abandoned in a certain way, I still would care for him as much as I could. So I would fly out from Germany to there every X amount of weeks, stay there for a time, drive into hospitals, try to find the best treatments, etc. And like even when he was dying, like one of the last things he told me, like that he was extremely proud of me. And that was one of the last things, and was one of the first times I heard him say that, that he watched many of my videos, and I'm like, why the fuck are you telling me this now, Like, we could have had such a better life, but that's also part of the upbringing, part of the values. This is why I try to be a better family man, so.
When you moved with your mom and her husband, when you were 11, how was that? Moving from where you lived all your life to a new environment?
Believe it or not, like nothing bad, nothing exceptional, nothing challenging. Of course, yeah, you're moving to a different country, but I was always open-minded. I was always excited about things, to try the new things. The only thing, like honestly speaking, I was there for 3 months in the Netherlands when we moved there, and then we ran into a lady at a store who happened to be from Georgian descent, so like part of former Soviet Union. And she was living in the same village that we were living at the time, and we obviously got acquainted because we're speaking the same language. And then she asked, like, "So, is your kid going to school?" Me, basically. And my mom said no, because like we just moved here and we're still getting all the like residence permits, because right now we're just here on a visa and we just need to get all of that. And she said, like, "Well, you don't need that, because in Netherlands, kids are the most important thing, even if you are, well, they're considered by the government the most important thing. So even if you're a refugee, even if you have no papers, no whatsoever, you can go to school." At least back at the time. I don't know how the situation is now, you know? And then my mom was like, "Oh, really? Well, let's do this." So I had a nervous breakdown. I was like super nervous because I had to actually go to school. I was studying every single day to learn Dutch at the time, but I didn't feel confident enough. And I'm like, "Oh my God, how can I be like," one thing is like go to the store and say, "Hello, how are you doing? Can I buy this? Can I have the receipt?" And the other thing is actually like doing mathematical equations in Dutch, you know? So like, and on that night I cried like a lot, and like almost, yeah, cry myself to sleep. But then the next day I went to school and I immediately made friends, and it was the best thing ever. And within a few months, I was actually explaining Dutch grammar to Dutch kids because for me it was such a fresh, and I was using logic because for them it was the nurture thing. They were grown up and born by it. But I was using actually the understanding thing, and it was like super funny thing. But yeah, that was the only challenge I had. So, but based on that experience, I always know how to blend in myself. Like if I move to Germany or somewhere else, it's a good and a bad thing, because I can get used to another place very easily. But wherever I go, even if I would go back to, especially if I would go back to Russia, or even if I would go to the Netherlands, there's always either I am one of their own because of one particular reason, but I'm also not, because I'm not with them or haven't been. So I'm someone from the Eifel, from Helmond in the Netherlands, someone from Russia, but I'm also always a foreigner. So, but it's not good, not bad. It's just how it is.
If we move it forward to when you were 21, you bought yourself your very first race car.
True.
Can you give us some context on what type of car it is and how it came about?
Well, I was always working as much as I could in my life. I still am. I still do. I have multiple companies, whatever, affiliations, channels to run, etc. But even already when I was like, whenever I could, so from the age of 16, I would have multiple jobs. So that, and I was not spending a lot because I didn't have many expenses. I'm fine with one pair of shoes per year. And at some point, I made enough money to actually buy my first car, because I thought, you know what? Let's do this. Why not? Because someone that I knew that who was working for the same company I was working at the time, he had the Impreza, Subaru Impreza, and that's of course a dream car. It was a 2001 Subaru Impreza GC8, and I thought, you know what? Let's buy this. I've done that. The side note is that the car came with or finished brake pads. I knew about this. So instead of replacing brake pads, I replaced the whole braking system. And while you at it, might as well, that's my favorite quote from every car built, might as well replace the suspension. The first thing that when I bought the car, I knew like, oh, this is a fast car. I need to know how to drive it. So I booked myself a race car driver course to get the racing license. Not because I had ambitions to race, because I just wanted to become a better driver, genuinely. So I've done that a few months later. And one thing led to another, and I ended up building one of the fastest Imprezas back in the days. So with 700 horsepower, 860 705 horsepower, 864 newton meters of torque.
And at this time, you were in college, right?
Yes, correct.
And you were studying business?
Yeah, the studies were called Liberal Arts and Sciences, Business and Management. So you at some point in the first year you have a bit of everything. You had back at the time rhetoric, which was taught by actually one of the members of the Parliament of the Netherlands how to convince people of talking, and he unfortunately also got killed in an MH17 flight that was taken down by Russia 10 years ago or so by now. Fantastic man, fantastic professor, taught me a lot how to articulate myself when I try to explain something, etc. Things like that. We had neuroscience, we had contemporary culture, marketing, you name it. And then in the second half of the first year, you need to choose your major and a minor, which would be, for me, business and management and law. So that was for me. The major was business and management, and the minor was law. So those were the two things I would do. But long story short, for good or for the bad, like in the last year of my studies, I actually dropped out. I just had 1 year to go to finish my bachelor, so it was not even master's. So, and
why?
I was doing so many other things which had to do with cars and social media. And already from my experience back then at the time with life and etc., I realized that you need to have something to believe in. Some people believe in God. Some people believe in themselves. Some people believe in a piece of paper that has their grades on it from a university. I know from a high school where I was like really locked in and went for highest grade because my grandma always said you need to be the best in school because otherwise you're gonna be a street sweeper or you're gonna end up on the street. You need to have the best possible grades. I was always the best until I was maybe like 14 years old, because then I was like, you know what? Why do I need to be the best? Because at the end of the day, it's about passing. I'm not being really judged by it. So I was still good, but I was trying to be more efficient and just like give just enough and above average. And then in my last years, I was actually like only focusing on the stuff that I really liked, and I would give the best for it. And the stuff I didn't like, I just give the least. And I had extreme precise calculation to the point, basically, okay, I need to pass my high school, the high school exam. This is what I need. And there's a big variable. So basically, they use the median. So basically, for one of the subjects, you can have the worst possible grade. But if you have more than these, more than one grade like this, then you're a failure. So what I've done is I just focused on the stuff that I loved, which was history, it was philosophy, it was languages. So I had on a 10 scale, it's a scale of 10 that they use in the Netherlands. 10 is the highest and 1 is the worst. It's almost impossible to get 1 even.
Yeah.
I focused on those, and they were all above 8.5, basically, between 8.5, some were 9, etc. For math, because I just didn't like math, it wasn't like algebra level math. Nah. So I think that I finished with maybe 4.5 or something,
Yeah.
like the lowest attendance possible. Because back at the time, I was already under assumption, if you pass, no one is going to look at your grades afterwards ever again. So I had my diploma, I passed, I submitted it to university, I got accepted to university, and nobody looked at the grades ever again. So fast forward when I was in the last year, I'm like, okay, I have this knowledge, I have this experience, I have myself. I have the assumption of it's not what you know, but I know already something. But it's more about who you know. I know already all the people from the industry. So why do I need this? You know what? Let's try. So, and then I decided, to just drop the studies and focus more on actually just go work. Well, worked out for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work out for you, so stay in school. Or maybe not, because you might be replaced by AI anyway.
And at this time, you hadn't got into YouTube yet, right? Was this the start? Because you posted you mentioned in a previous interview, you posted some moped clips.
Yeah. I mean, when you look now at my YouTube stats, if you enter it in Social Blade, you're going to see the channel has been existing for 16, 17 years. But I've been only actively posting, made it a goal to do something on YouTube, whether it's just to tell a story or promote a certain business, since 2015, basically. But I had it already since 2009, I think. That's how old my channel is, because I made it just simply to upload one single video of me doing a wheelie on a scooter, or me doing, back then the short form content was the long form content, so to say. So I was doing something, but it was never a goal. Even as a matter of fact, with a lot of things that I started in life that became something substantial and significant, it was never a goal to do something with it, or to make it my living out of it, especially with cars. Like I said, I built the Impreza back in the days, but I never thought that buying this car, building it, and posting some videos of it would lead me where I am today. It was never a goal. Some people, and I think that's also the biggest driver and the biggest for these kind of decisions. When people make these kind of decisions, it's the biggest blessing when you are not chasing money or views or numbers, because you're doing it because you like it and you really pour your passion into it. And you can stay up all night. You can travel on the bus from Sweden to interview someone in a freezing workshop. Because you're passionate about it. You want to do this, and you don't care if this video is going to get 100 views or whatever, because for you it's experience. You're going to remember this, and maybe in 10 years you and I meet, or whatever, some other opportunity going to come along, and you're going to end up talking to some taxi driver today who, I don't know, going to tell you some other story or a quote that's going to stay for the rest of your life. So one way or the other, you need to make it to yourself valuable and worth.
One of your first videos that got some reach were a character, which you can't posted Boris?
Yes,
right?
Correct.
Can you give some context on what that was about? And when it was, if you remember.
It was at the time when it was possible to do these kind of things. Although looking at today's world, I think it's possible again to be this kind of guy. Funny enough, Boosted Boris was born in Sweden, where you're from as well. So back in 2013, I think, I was running a tuning shop of a friend of mine back in Russia, and we built a car which was a Nissan Juke with a Nissan GTR drivetrain, so 1,000 horsepower in a family SUV. Mm-hmm. And it became quite a popular car, and it was even before me being actively weaponizing social media to do the brand around it. I was just occasionally posting pictures or videos of it, so it became quite popular. And we got invited by friends of mine who had a clothing company in Sweden focused on automotive called Downforce to bring the car and ourselves to their stand to hang around, have a good time, etc., etc. So we're like, yeah, sure, we're in for a good time, to just road trip, yeah, Sweden, let's go. And they had also a YouTube channel where they were making videos, sort of car scene lifestyle videos, and their host was Captain Redbeard. Frederick, if you're watching this, I still hope you have an epic Redbeard. But that weekend, it was Captain Redbeard's birthday, and he said, guys, I love you, but you can get screwed. I'm not driving 700 kilometers just to make a stupid video. I'm going to get drunk at home. I don't need you for that. I felt offended. Jokes aside. But basically, and then Johan from Downforce, he said, Misha, you're going to be our host. I'm like, well, I need to be at least as epic as Captain Redbeard, or as half as epic. And we're thinking of some characters that we could do. And I remember a few years before that, I super randomly booked a New Year's trip to Ufa. Ufa is like a city in middle of Russia that, well, at the time it was like minus 20, 25 there. You go sort of middle of nowhere, and just decided to go there. Why not? It was the most random thing. And it was super cold, like I said, minus 25, so I had this full Russian hat. But it was also extremely sunny, and you get blinded by snow. You know it from Sweden. So I was wearing sunglasses. And I remember having a picture, and I'm like, this looks kind of epic. Like, you know what, let's turn it into something. So I had that hat and sunglasses with me, coincidentally, because I went to Sweden, so hat, and I had sunglasses because we were going after the board somewhere else with when it's sunny. It's like, you know what, let's go with this image. And we went through a couple of names, so we decided, you know what, let's call him Boosted Boris, because turbo, boost, and etc. It's like alliteration, BB. And you need to stand out if you want to be remembered, or if you want to stand out from the crowd. So the image was one thing. The other thing was being this stereotypical Russian who would be still maybe half drunk and talk about very stupid things and make stupid joke not only about boost but also boobs, because it rhymes and it looks kind of together and that kind of stuff. So yeah, making also offensive jokes, sexist jokes.
And about potatoes.
About everything. You know, you need to be healthy. You need to eat your salad and eat your potatoes. And what's vodka made of? Out of potatoes. So basically it's liquid salad. So drink vodka to be healthy. Maybe it's going to come back one day. Yeah. Yeah, so basically, long story short, we made, I think, like 3 or 4 videos, and those were the best performing videos of Downforce TV. And I didn't expect anything of them, but it was kind of cool. Like every piece of content that you post, it gets first seen by friends and family, and everyone gives you, of course, the encouraging words like, this is great, son. So yeah, there was a lot of positivity, like positive feedback around it. It also got shared because it was something different, and I decided to do a bit more of it. Like outside of those videos, you know what, let's do maybe one more, like see how that goes. That also got received well. And basically 2013, I've done maybe like, I don't know, those 4 or 5 videos. In 2014, I've done maybe like 10 over the whole year. And 2015 was when I moved to the Nürburgring, because I got a job offer here to like run a company essentially one way or the other. I thought, you know what, this is cool, but let's also take something of this, because already up at that point I was 25 years old, so and I've been working since I was 15, so I was always working for someone else, and I wanted to have something of myself to fall back to even, so decided to do that. Yeah, that ended up being relatively successful, because I think I was alone at the time, but we as a community behind the channel, I think after the first year maybe had like 30,000 subs, maybe 20, but there were some videos that were going towards 100,000 views, and I was already quite good. Yeah, it was getting somewhere. So that's in short Boosted Boris. But fast forward, the only thing that you need to know is that as I was doing that, Boosted Boris was improvised. A lot of things were improvised on the spot, but back at that time, and sometimes today still, I'm quite a perfectionist. So I want to be, at least with these kind of things, be prepared, at least back then. So that it took a lot of time, lots of preparation. It was also not everyone's cup of tea. Of course, it's great. But the thing is, I realized after living back then for 2 years already at the Nürburgring, is that things happen here every single day. Different kind of things. You can have lap records, you can have crashes, you can have normal driving, you can have a snow outside, and all of a sudden it's completely different kind of content. And this is something that I can just show people how it looks like, how it is to live at the Nürburgring. And I don't need to be Boosted Boris for that. More aside, I think certain brands would rather prefer to work with someone real and not offensive. And I decided to do like daily vlogs pretty much. That was in 2016. That's when I made the switch to myself. Then I just didn't have time for doing that because I had more fun. It was more easy. It was more rewarding to do this. I've done in 2017, I think, one video, or maybe two more I posted as well. Then in 2021, at the end of 21, I hired an extra camera guy and editor, Adrian, who is one of the most talented video people I have ever met. And one of the reasons of hiring him was actually to bring back Boosted Boris, so we can do some really next level content because people have been always asking for it. But Vladimir Putin had different ideas for being a Russian at that point. So with that, we had to cancel the whole Boosted Boris idea. So yeah.
And at that time, let's say not maybe 2021, but before that, you mentioned you had a job. Was that when you worked as a marketing manager, or within the marketing, you were responsible for social media, basically?
Yeah, exactly. So the reason I was hired was to actually put the company up, because it was a newly founded company that was focusing on car rentals, and they had a hotel, but it was a company no one knew about. So it was my job to promote it. But at the same time, I ended up also being the face of the company, being there constantly present, doing all the customer contact, and even sometimes also cleaning the hotel rooms and everything around it, because, well, he's there, he can do it, right? So, yeah.
Was that the same company that in the end stopped paying you?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you give some context about that? What happened?
Back at the time, I was for winter holidays, like it is now. As you can see, here is nothing to do in the winter, so you should not be here. And as of now, I'm in Croatia most of the time in the winter. I'll be actually going there. I just came back last week, and I'm going there next week again, because my family is there as well, and it's nice and warm there. But back at the time, I was going to Russia for winter. So as the season ended, I moved here, and after 2 months, I looked at my bank account. I'm like, you forgot to pay me, right? Or like, what's up there? And then it was like, yeah, about that. And they just decided not to, because they found that, or not they, because it was a company with multiple people, but the person that I was dealing with at the time and who was director of the company, he was under the assumption I didn't do enough for them, and that was sort of the end of it or something. I'm like, cool, thanks for letting me know when I'm in Russia and not there, and what do I do now?
When were the time when you moved to Nürburgring?
2014.
You moved fully at that time?
Yeah, no, I moved fully in 2015.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you, just so that I don't get this wrong, did you co-found Apex?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. When did you start that company?
2017.
2017. And can you give us context, what is Apex? And what was it about?
So one of my last encounters in 2016 back at the other company that I was not member of anymore was someone DMing the company's account and saying like, hey, do you guys offer car storage? I'm like, yeah, come by. We can put 50 cars in here, literally. And that person came by, and he wanted to leave his McLaren 675 LT there for a certain amount of time. Found out that he's American, so it made my life easier because I don't need to speak my broken German, because back at the time it was horrible. And we stayed in contact, just like because of reasons. And when I realized that my role/life as it used to be over the last 2 years was over, I just reached out to him like, so, what do you do? What's your story? And you're coming to the Nürburgring. Do you have any other plans? And he said, well, actually, I bought a property and I have some ideas with it. What are you thinking? So, many long nights, phone calls, conversations, and ideas and excitement later, we had this concept, what to build, Apex. And that was supposed to be a hotel because we transformed that house into... It's been already a few years. How many rooms we had at the time? 2 junior, 2 premier suites, and then later we converted one more also to one more premier suite. Yeah, so 5 rooms in total it had. To offer Nürburgring experience, basically hotel and car rental, and maybe in the future also something else like workshop, or later it evolved into the... we had also ring taxi license, we were doing all kinds of media stuff, etc., etc. But that was basically the company, almost pretty much one-stop shop at the Nürburgring, with the exception of car maintenance that we didn't do for clients. And knowing everything I knew before, with my experience with the previous company, etc., I decided to really show everything, ins and outs, the goods and the bads, the crashes of the cars, the moldy walls of the old building that was built in 1930s, and how we're going to demolish that, to show it, because that's what's bad about it. That's life. You show the business process. And that's what got skyrocketed, or like Apex's existence, popularity, brand presence, and awareness. It was probably the fastest grown rental car company at the Nürburgring in its Nürburgring history, maybe up and still, probably still until today. The way it went from 0 to what it became within a year, and let alone 2 years, it was insane. And that all had to do due to our social media presence and the transparency. So that's what it was.
Because when did you meet your wife? Was it during the Apex period?
Yes. It was end of 2021. That's when we met.
And how did that happen?
She was a barkeeper at Lindner Hotel here at the Nürburgring. And we used to go there quite often with Apex team because it has the best bar in town. So if you want to have great cocktail, you go there. And pre-corona, they had the best kitchen of the whole area around. Then corona happened, then you would, instead of like this fantastic, the best burger probably I tasted in my life, you would get like plastic wrapped sandwiches. So then we didn't go for like 2 years. And then we started going mostly for drinks. And the first time I remember meeting her is back at the time, my order would be whiskey sour New Yorker style. That's whiskey sour with a shot of red wine or port. Depends what your bartender what kind of poison they would like to pour you. And I would take a double as well because it was winter. It was already also like, it was October. It was already off season, so whatever. And I would get my Nürburger, the burger, but with jalapenos. So I get a Nürburger and double whiskey sour New Yorker style. I ordered that. And she would come bring it to our table. I was actually back then with Shmi 150, his girlfriend, and Joe Achilles. So also another the biggest BMW related content creator in the world. Maybe not the biggest, but definitely the best, Joe. I love you. We were sitting at the time, she brings it over and she's like, well, here are your drinks, here's like whiskey sour, and we have a problem. And I'm like, woman, everyone has a right to have a problem in their lives, and my problem is alcoholism. Don't judge me. She's like, no, that's not your problem. Your problem is that we do not have jalapenos anymore. I'm like, well, that sucks. But yeah, then we ended up later a bit more. One thing led to another. She wrote to me on Instagram first, actually, after I posted the cocktail, because she made I think 1 month later, the same guys came back and we had another night of drinking, enjoying life. And she made me like, I think it was White Russian or Black Russian. I think white. Doesn't matter, something Russian. I posted a picture on Instagram on story, and then she said, "Oh, why don't you tag like the best barkeeper in the world?" I'm like, and then I said something like, "Oh yeah, White Russian made by the Balkan. Is that a match made in heaven by the girl from the Balkans because she's Croatian?" And here we are today, married, having a kid, enjoying life. So,
how do you manage building your social media and companies while being married and having a kid as well at this time?
because of her. The reason for that is like the main thing is that she's full of understanding, and she has sacrificed a lot, and she's taking a lot of my shit, basically. So to give you an example, like on the preseason, in the mornings, I would go do cardio. I would then make us coffee. After that, maybe have breakfast together. And then I would go here to do work, to do everything. Then on the way back home, I would stop by the gym to work out on the power training, so hit the weights instead of cardio. And then I would come home, I would have dinner, and then I would go back to work in my office at home to edit videos and do all social media stuff. That's a very extreme example. It doesn't happen every single day, every single time, you know. But she's been putting up with this. And sometimes I would choose work over being with her. Now, since our son is born, I think there has been only 1 month birthday that I missed so far. He's going to be next week, Tuesday, 10 months old. So I'm flying there to Croatia to be for that. So like the important life events, I'm trying not to miss and try to spend as much time as possible with them, etc. But what I'm getting at is that the amount of sacrifice that she does by accepting that and having the understanding, and also being a lot with our son and being with him simply, that's the reason why I'm able to do what I'm able to do.
Do you think you could have built it if, let's say, another scenario where you needed to work and she didn't like that, and then you got home and maybe she was mad at you and you needed to work even more? Do you think you could have built what you built if you didn't have someone who was that understanding?
There are two scenarios. No, I think there's just one scenario: breakup. I wouldn't be able to let go of what I've built. Like I'm willing to like take sacrifices and like step away from it as much as I can, but not more than what I'm already doing. Like, and for people from the outside, it may not seem like a lot. For me, it seems like a lot. It could always be more or less. But like I said, it's a lot of balancing happening in my life right now between the content creation, running a business or multiple of them, doing brand deals, and having a family life. So, and I'm in a very fortunate position where all the parties understand that. My wife knows when I have to be at the end till midnight here with the team because we're working on a project, an exciting project, or we have some other crisis to solve. But at the same time, my team understands when next week we're starting on 2 big customer project cars to disassemble them, modify them, etc. I'm saying, guys, I'm flying to Croatia to be with my son and wife. They're understanding. My wife is understanding when I have to be here, and they're understanding when I have to be there. And also whenever I'm working, I don't know, brands, partners, race teams, I'm telling them, sorry, I cannot, because I will be then with my family. And everyone understands. And sometimes you have to let go of a complete opportunity presented to you. But I'm happy where I am, and I try to make the most of it.
Now we're getting into the Q&A section of this podcast. So I asked Misha questions anywhere from his biggest crashes to the most expensive cars he's ever driven. So let's not waste any more time and get into the Q&A. How did it come about that you drove a lap with Robert Kubica?
One day I come into the office and everyone's like, there's like this really exciting, gossipy atmosphere, and everyone's like, oh, I'm like, what's happening? Like, did you hear? I'm like, hear what? Robert Kubica, he rented the car from us. I'm like, who the hell is Robert Kubica? Sorry, no clue. Like, Misha is a former ex-Formula 1 driver who is like a very prominent race car driver in the world because he was X1. He was also driving WRC, or like he was rallying. He had an accident and that finished his F1 career, but he is still back then he was in town for DTM because he was racing DTM, so he came to the Nürburgring because DTM was taking place at the Nürburgring. And I'm like, cool, all right. Sure. Then a few days later, or the following day, maybe the same day, it's been already 5 years ago, he was there around. He actually came to pick up his car because he rented the car for a full week to drive it on the ring. And then I saw him, and then someone said like, oh, okay, Mr. Kubica, would you like to have this, and that? And like, so you're the guy. He's like, yeah, I'm the guy. What's up? Nice to meet you. And then I ended up talking. I'm like, hey, like, if you're cool with it, maybe we can do a lap together or something. Like, cause I like have YouTube. Like, it's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Like, hop in. And the fun story behind that is because the reason why he ended up with us is, like mentioned, he was there to race DTM. So while he was there for the whole week, he wanted to experience the Nordschleife because the DTM was taking place on a small circuit, the GP track, and he wanted to do the real thing. He rented the car from us. But before that, he actually went to another rental car company and he asked, I would like to have BMW M4. Can you give it to me? And the guy at the counter said, yeah, sure, but the first lap you need to go with the instructor. And maybe afterwards as well, if the instructor doesn't qualify you enough. And he's like, not thanks. Fair play to the guy behind the counter, because if that would have been me, I would have said the same thing because I had no idea who the guy was at the time.
No.
So that's why he ended up with us, with Apex. And luckily for us, Lewis, who was working with us at the time, he knew exactly who it was. So he said, you can have whatever you want. And then I think 2 or 3 days later, it was my time to go with him for a lap because he said, yeah, let me just have some laps. I'm like, yeah, no rush. I have also all the time in the world and whatever. And then we went for a lap. And I actually, it happened, I think we filmed it somewhere the first week of September. I don't remember the day anymore. I can find it out on my hard drive somewhere. But I posted it. I scheduled it to go live in 2 weeks after, because for me it was just another lap. I did not put any value to it. I did not like whatever, certain videos I would even today still run home and edit it myself and put it up online within an hour because I know like this is gonna be a banger. Like, for example, the first day that the track is open. Like, I know, like, okay, I need to put it now because today is the first day that the track is open. Nobody is going to watch it tomorrow. I need to put it out now. And with this, I'm like, yeah, whatever, just another lap. It was scheduled when I was going on holiday. I was driving to Italy, actually. And I stopped at a gas station for a rest stop. And it was, I think, 18:58, something like that time, like 2 minutes before the video would go live. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, video's gonna go live in a bit. So I went to the bathroom, bought some snacks, walk out again. It was 5 minutes later. I look at my phone and the video had like 50,000 views. I'm like, this must be a glitch. why would have this 50,000
In like
views?
5 minutes.
Yeah, in 5 minutes. Like, what the hell is happening? Video ended up being on trending. It had over 1 million views in 24 hours. And nowadays it has over 10, like 11 maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not yet. Don't know. Not watching the numbers. So extremely popular. And I had no idea, no intention, because for me it was just not a lap. It was just really even filmed, I think, with a handheld GoPro, like on a gimbal, maybe not even. I don't remember like my setup back in the time, because I went through different iterations. Because if I would have knew, like, it would have been great, I would made some B-roll maybe, or maybe like put more cameras in it. But I think because it was so real, something exceptional, but made in such a real way, people could relate to it, and that's why it was so successful. The thing that I will always remember is he had the car for the full week, and on a weeknights from Monday till Friday, the track is open from 5 till 7, so you have a 2-hour window. And it could be that someone crashes there, they close the track, so you have less driving time, basically. And on one day, when people started finding out that Robert Kubica is in town, and someone found out by seeing him that he was at Apex, some of his fans actually stopped by, because he's from Poland, and lots of people would travel from Poland to whichever part of the world to see him, to support him. And it was a family, mom, dad, and I would say 5-year-old, maybe 6-year-old kid, with a model car that Robert was driving, actually, the DTM car. He spent over half an hour with the kid, talking with him. Of course, he signed the car, but he would talk about the car, the features, etc. And that day, he was supposed, and he was taking his teammates out for laps with him. And the track opened, actually, at 5 o'clock. The track opened, and he was still talking with the kid. And one of the team members said, like, "Hey, Robert, come on, the track opened. We should go, because otherwise they're going to close it." And like, "Oh, yeah? When I asked you for the car to drive, you said we don't have any, so now I'm renting it here by myself. Now you're going to play by my rules as well. So I'm here where I am today in my life because of these people. They can have all the time they deserve. You can have your time when I'm driving for you on the weekend. So you wait your turn." So, and then he ended up still talking with the kid. And then somebody did crash. They closed the track and they had 1 hour less driving time.
Yeah.
But that is something that I would always remember, that he would prioritize someone who he never met before in his life. At that point, that person, that kid, 5 years old, it's not going to bring him anything in his life, not a sponsorship contract, not anything. But he took the time, and who knows, maybe because of that, in 20 years, we will see this kid being extremely successful in life, or a successful driver, or being just simply polite, well-mannered gentleman, because he got inspired by someone, and not being told off, not being neglected, you know. And that was really inspirational. And over the course of life, I've met many, many athletes, and I probably can count these kind of people on one hand that stood out with these kind of examples, who are extremely prominent in life, F1 champions, World Rally champions, Le Mans champions, who would, no matter because of their title, they would not say who they are. Like Robert did not tell the guy at the reception desk, "Do you know who I am? Give me the car." I mean, he felt it that way, but he didn't make a point out of it. He just walked away and went somewhere else because he didn't want to have a driving instructor next to him. That's another thing. So that was something that I always remember and really value and appreciate, and something that I try to do myself as well. Whenever someone comes to me and wants to have a piece of me in like figurative sense, I try to dedicate them my time. Back in 2024, I had one of my afterwards scariest moments of my life when I saw the footage back. We were in a crash on the Nürburgring. A friend of mine came by with the BMW M4 that I drove earlier that year as well, back in April, and that was now in June with some new mods. And we drove it, and actually not even fast, exceptionally fast when you look at the footage up until the crash. So there was like no means to do anything silly, or I was not high on adrenaline that day. And as we went through Foxhole, which is a high compression zone section where you go up to 300 kilometers per hour, usually go around 250 through the bottom and then go back up again, something probably snapped because there was a lot of smoke that came from the car and the brakes didn't function as they were supposed to do. So the car engaged full ABS because something went wrong with the chassis. And I tried to save the car. I corrected it as much as I could on the first couple of iterations of the elevation and the corner change. But then later we hit the curb, and that sent the car straight to the wall afterwards. We went into it, launched up. It grabbed with the exhaust or the differential on the barrier, flipped the car mid-air, and launched the front windshield on the barrier.
Jesus.
So the barrier scratched my helmet. I have it still on my helmet, a scratch like this. So had I not been wearing a helmet, both of us would have been a different story. Definitely we would have had lots of glass damage because the window shattered. They actually pulled a few pieces of glass out of my head later. And the other scary part is if we would have been slightly more to the right, because the crash barriers, they're barriers. But how are they being held by? By posts. Yeah. So one of the posts could have impaled one of us. So looking back at that, it was quite a scary moment afterwards. But don't ask me how. After it happened, one impact, then on the barrier, then bounce up again. Then the car even caught fire. But we got out with actually no injuries. We had like some bruises from the seat belts, and we asked to be taken to a hospital because the biggest danger is being high on adrenaline but having internal bleeding that might kill you a few hours later. So we went there, and actually when we arrived at the hospital, people knowing who I am and what they heard, and they saw some pictures, or they saw some pictures. Some people saw the pictures of the car before that, and they were running around and looking like, where are the injured people? I'm like, hello, I'm here to, like, what do you want? I'm like, yeah, but we just had a car crash. Are you those guys? I'm like, yeah. How the hell did you survive that? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. But like everything in life, and with driving other people's cars in particular, I always take responsibility for whatever happens, and I always respect the fact that people trust me with their material, with their parts possession. And whether something failed on the car, sure, but nobody asked me to drive 250 through that section, even though I have done it multiple times with 280 kilometers per hour. Had I been traveling 200, maybe that component would not have failed, or I had more time to react, or more braking distance, etc., etc. Long story short, I always say the driver is always responsible, and you need to make it up. So I had so far, since in the last 6 years, I would say, that I'm driving other people's cars, mostly for content. I had 2 relatively big incidents where the car was a write-off, and maybe like 2 or 3 where it was like small minor dents. But in all these cases, I would always make sure that the person involved would come out better than the situation before. So always when it happens, always make sure that I ask, are you fine? Are you okay? Is everything fine mentally, physically, etc., etc.? And then like, okay, how can I make this right to you? Should I go to the bank and take a big load of cash and you can buy yourself a car and whatever you want with it? Or do you like... and always the answer so far has been no. This experience, it's something that I will remember for the rest of my life, for the good or the bad reasons. Yeah. but it's something that I also want to turn to a good story, and I think it connects us. So, yeah, if you don't mind, like replacing my car or building a car, then let's do that. So, what I always ended up doing so far, and I hope I won't have to do it ever again, every time it happens. Luckily, it doesn't happen that often. I always build something more special for the person than it was before. So if it was before just a normal car, it would have many, many more mods and upgrades, etc.
Do you remember his process? Like what happened afterwards? Because you rebuilt that car.
Yes. Well, that car was beyond rebuilding. It was more than a write-off. There was nothing usable. Well, I'm lying to you. We decided on his request to use the engine and the gearbox. And after the first track day, the engine did blow up. Did it happen because of what? No idea, but the engine did die. So right now on the new car, the only thing that's left from the previous car is the gearbox. Everything else is bought, every single screw brand new.
What was his reaction afterwards, after the rebuild?
No, we're actually quite good friends, you know. So it was. It's not that I was like. It's like with this car. I mean, there was one car that I done it sort of like behind the scenes from the person owning it, like 4 years ago or so. It was another M4 that I just took and I finished it, and then I like unveiled it to the person. And he was like super blown away.
Yeah, so the blue one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this particular one, Anton, the owner and my friend, the owner of the car, not of me and the friend, he was involved in every single process. We were building the car essentially together. It was just like, would you like this option? Or would you like this option? Should we go with this? Should we go with GT4? Or should we go with this? And so, yeah, when he drove the car,
surprise!
When he drove the car, I'm sure he was happy. He's still happy. It's a car that's very well known and it gets a lot of attention and etc. So he's happy. But there was no like reaction of like, I don't know, here's your car. It's like, yeah, I know exactly what it is because we went through everything. And the car was, even for the majority of it, it was assembled in Poland because he lives in Poland and he could actually be involved in the process, seeing it if it's done the way he wants it to be. And I was just financing it. So that was how it was done.
Can you take us back to the time when you got to be a passenger in the Bugatti bolide?
I was at Gear Collector track day. Gear Collector is one of the top world automotive content creators. I think he was like #1 car creator or something in Germany. So very prominent, very successful, and he's been organizing track days at the Nürburgring. Every year, once a year, he organizes a track day, invites his friends, his partners, companies, etc., because he also has a big car collection. And on that day, there was also one of his friends who had a Bugatti Bolide and a Pagani Huayra R. Pagani Huayra R, yeah. This year, I asked him if I can go in a Pagani Huayra R, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, he said, would you like to have a ride in Bugatti Bolide? I said, yeah, sure, thanks. For people who do not know, Bugatti Bolide is one of the last iterations of Bugatti Chiron, one of the last W16 quad-turbocharged hypercars from Bugatti, utilizing... And again, 1,600 plus horsepower, I think. It's more than a factory car as far as I remember. Less weight, full slick, specially developed, everything for this car to be race used. Now, through my career, I've seen a lot of track-only versions of street cars. And that's usually looks great, but drives slightly better than a factory street car, but by no means it's a race car or anything exceptional. So for me, it was like, yeah, sure, bro, thanks. Okay, I'll go for a ride along. Especially when I asked who's going to be driving, and I said the owner. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. No disrespect, but again, based on my experience, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the average driving level skill of an average supercar, hypercar, even a sports car owner is, for me, not that exciting. So especially when you know that the car is very capable, you do not come close to that particular limit. So I'm sitting on the passenger seat, I'm like, I hope you're not gonna kill us. Or like, you could have gone much faster through there. So I ended up being more of a disappointment in case of never meet your heroes. It was like this, full of assumptions of like, okay, it's not going to be great for all the reasons possible, because that's what humans do. You might assume always the worst. But it ended up being like the most impressive experiences of my life, because the car was great and the driver/owner was also extremely great and capable and did not care that his 2, 3, 4, 5 million euro hypercar was being sent and he had to pay 20,000 euros of tires after 5 more laps, because there are some ridiculous numbers that these cars cost to run and maintain. And that was amazing. So I was blown away. I was happy. Afterwards, I spoke also with Mate Rimac, who kind of oversaw the construction and build of that car, because he's the owner and CEO of Bugatti. And he told me all the owners drive like that, or at least 90% of them, because people who buy these cars, we always make sure that they also actually get to know how to use them. And once they get to know how to use them, they do not want to do or to drive anything else. So we actually ruin their lives. So that was actually great to hear. But that's again one of those few things that just happened, being in the right place in the right time, not having any expectations, and it was great.
I had no idea he was the owner of the car. I thought he was a driver.
No.
That's why
you mean a factory professional?
Yeah, that's why he went so
Yeah.
hard. It was not his car.
I can tell you, I had various experiences in my life with professional drivers, or let's say factory drivers who are test drivers. They would have been much softer on the car. He was taking much more risks, because he knew if he would crash it, he wouldn't care, because he can buy 10 more of those, because he has 10 more others of those, not literally this, but he would drive it like that. If a test driver would have done a crash that day, he would end this job and career,
Yeah, because I saw he drove out right afterwards with a new person, right?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah. He was doing,
he
he was
just
just doing taxi laps the whole day. He was there for fun. And that's the best thing. You know what? If you're driving cars and you can share that pleasure with others, then why not? Why not have fun with more people? I mean, passengers are weight, so you do not want... But when you have 1,600 horsepower, you maybe not notice that extra kilo or 100.
How did it come about that you were able to drive the Rimac?
Rimac Nevera. And actually, I also drove the Rimac C2, which was the code name of a prototype of the Nevera, because back in 2020, I used to work for Rimac Automobili as a digital content coordinator. So basically everything social media and lots of stuff marketing related, and a lot of stuff everything else related, because back then it was much more younger company than it is, and the general spirit of the company was everyone is trying to contribute in a lot of things. And also Mate Rimac himself, he tries to involve everyone from the company in every, as much possible of decision making. Not that the cleaning lady has the executive board decisions, but in my case, for example, back in 2020, one of my first weeks on the job, he put me in a prototype without me knowing, because the test driver, when I was filming some promotional video, test driver said, okay, now you drive. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, those are instructions from Mate. The boss says, so it's my job that you drive the car. So get in the car, let's go. I'm like, okay. And he said, well, if you're going to be working with this car on such a level that you need to make content with it, you need to know what it is and what we're building here. And you also drive on the Nürburgring, so you have some experience of driving. Maybe you can give some input, something that could be done better or worse, or you name it. But fast forward later, even up until today, I still have extremely good relationship, even though I left the company because I was missing Nürburgring a lot. I wanted to be back here. I wanted to drive here. And even up until today, Sometimes I spend Christmas together with Mate. Even now, this year, we made a very big video, and at the moment of recording of this podcast, it's not out yet, but it will be out in a few days. So this was one of the things that happened because all the opportunities were there. It was convenient. I was in Croatia at the time for winter holidays with my back at the time fiance. And I said, like, hey, should we do like a company walk around production line video for my channel, and maybe we can do something with the Nevera? I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. So this was actually planned and executed. Why it happened, I just told you, but we decided to do it. All the opportunities were there. I organized the film crew to make an extra special video, because usually it's just me filming and that's it, maybe one extra person. But that time I wanted to give it all, because even though I left the company, it's still extremely close to my heart. I learned a lot there. I experienced a lot there, and all these people, they're still very close to me. That's why I want to make it extra special. So unlike most of them, my videos where I just like stick a GoPro in the car, or like even just one GoPro, not even 4 or 5, I had like a really full film crew with sound guy and everything. So we made a factory tour, and we made also like the test drive of me driving it. I believe we drove on the road first, then we drove to their private test track, because unfortunately it was very cold. We couldn't get a proper racetrack for me to drive it. And then one of their test drivers, Goran, he showed me what the car can do in terms of acceleration, in terms of drifting, in terms of more drifting, and a lot more drifting. So by the time it was my turn, the normal tires, the performance tires, were burnt up by him. Yeah. So I had to switch to winter tires. It was still impressive, like the acceleration numbers and everything, but it was not really like what it could have been. So.
You tried drifting mode as well, right?
I think I did, and I think I extremely sucked at it, because I suck at drifting in general. But in this car in particular, you need to do it very counterintuitive, because it's been developed and engineered in such a perfect way that you as a driver, you expect it to make mistakes, so that you need to like fight it or counter-correct it. But in this case, you just need to step on the throttle, turn in, go flat out, and you're thinking that car has 1914 horsepower. And usually EVs, when they have instant torque momentum, you just go like this. Like I've experienced many other EVs and also like driving courses and drift courses with EVs from those particular brands. It's nearly impossible to drift the EV unless they program the whole thing to be able to do it, because it's like really tricky. But that car, it's so well set up. The torque vectoring is so great that you actually need to step on the gas and chug it in, and the car will do like a perfect drift by itself, like with your minimal inputs. So again, because I suck it in general, and with my assumption of like thinking like, okay, I need to be very gentle on throttle, because once it starts spinning its wheels, it's going to reach the 412 kilometers per hour of wheel speed. Yeah. It's not going to go anywhere. But yeah, basically, it's... I tried.
So it's set up so you have to go full.
Yes, full on the gas.
Does the wheels, are they each like wheel program then?
Yes, every wheel has independent motor and independent software behind it, which is called torque vectoring. So most people know me from me driving other people's cars. In the past, with them in it, as of halfway throughout 2025, I made a decision of not taking any passengers anymore on public days in cars that I do not know, to avoid any kind of additional risk, because maybe I became sensible and responsible and a family man, you name it. Regardless of that, one of the extremely exceptional cars that I got to drive in 2025 was Nissan Skyline R34 GTR. Everyone who was born in the 90s and the 80s grew up with those cars. This is one of the pinnacle cars because it had such a mythical appearance. It was only sold in Japan. You could, back then in the early 2000s, get over 1,000 horsepower with that engine. Number that is still very impressive today, but back then it was like almost a unicorn. And us kids back then, we could only experience them from driving Gran Turismo, maybe some Need for Speed. It was like the hero car of Need for Speed Underground 1. It was the hero car of Fast and the Furious 2 because Brian O'Connor was driving it, racing it, and then later other movies as well. So it's very special, and it will probably stay special in the car world forever. So when someone came to me and said, would you like to drive my R34 GTR? It's it's definitely more special than any modern supercar, even. Because, well, for all the history reasons behind it, but also because there's a risk factor involved whenever you drive a car fast, and the way I drive them on the track, the way anyone drives them on the track, because anything can happen. You do not have to go fast to have an incident. There could be coolant on track, someone else might crash into you. And the words that the car owner said after he handed over me the keys, he said, fully send it, don't worry about anything, just send it, but be careful only because of one reason. It's impossible to find parts for it. So if you crash it, I know you would have to buy a new one, but it's not going to be the same because they do not make parts for them anymore. It's done. It's unique. So in this case, if someone hands me over the keys for their Ferrari 296 or something, which is also a very expensive, pricey car, and even today more pricey than even R34 GTR, you go to Ferrari, you buy another Ferrari. Yeah. Like, as silly as it may sound, but you do not buy another R34 GTR. It's not going to be the same. It's a completely different story. So it's very special because of all the things that I mentioned so far. And it was very well modified, had like every Skyline in the world, had a lot of things done to its engine. So I think it was pushing around 800 horsepower back at the time. With a single turbo and a couple of more upgrades. I think it was running R35 GTR brakes, but not that capable suspension from what I remember, because I'm driving on average 500 cars a year on the track. So it's been too many cars ago and too many sleepless nights ago. So the car was not, by all means, not perfect, but it was exceptionally great and emotional. And it was very nice and special.
Were you scared when you drove it about crashing?
No.
Is it because you feel like you know the track so well? You feel so comfortable?
I mean, I was driving it with knowing the limitations. Like, I was not trying to do something. I was doing what I was comfortable with. And maybe for the average person, this might look like fast, but to a local from here, it would look extremely safe. And to a Formula One driver, it would look like, come on, dude, can you not drive faster?
Yeah.
So it's always the matter of perception.
Yeah, because to a normal person, it looks very fast. Like if you see a video.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's
like you're taking a big risk.
Yeah, but actually, you could go much faster through corners. I mean, you cannot go much faster on the straights because the engine doesn't allow you to, but like it's mostly about the corner dynamics. Back in 2020, a friend of mine who is one of the main automotive videographers, he's making lots of videos for big brands and promotional videos for their cars, Bugatti, McLaren, Bentley, Land Rover, although it sounds weird to name Land Rover between Bugatti and McLaren, but here we are. He's big in the car world, basically. He's doing all their videography, etc. And they had another thing at the Nürburgring, but since it was COVID, he was not allowed to travel because, like, UK was on a very strict lockdown back at the time. So he asked me, like, hey, I have this thing with Bugatti, as you might know. Would you be able to do something at the Nürburgring? So he put me in touch with Bugatti PR team. We got in contact. I helped them out to facilitate numerous things here at the Nürburgring, to have pictures, to have videos, professional stuff taken for their own PR material. And they actually said, while we're at it, might as well, would you like to have a passenger ride? And in 2020, that was the prototype of the Bugatti Pure Sport or Pure Sport. So it was that. And in 2021, they came back again. And since they liked the vibe that we had the year before, they asked like, hey, would you like to do this again, but this time with this particular car? I'm like, sure, cool, why not? And that's where we were, and that's where we at.
How many of those got produced or are planning to be produced?
How many cars were produced? Ooh, to be honest, I don't know. I think 10 or less.
10 in total.
Yeah, I think so.
What was the price tag of that car?
3.5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11 million. I don't know. A lot.
Yeah.
And you always need to know that prototype in terms of financial value to a customer, to a company that's producing a prototype, because it's a one-off, there's like no tooling involved and etc. Or like the prototypes are more expensive if you need to talk like that.
How did it come about that you got to drive with a driver with only one arm?
It was beautiful, sunny track day, and I was doing my thing, being a passenger with my friends, also driving other people's cars. And among them was also Marcus. And Marcus is also relatively prominent and known person within the car world, at least the local car world, because he has a very nice collection of cars, supercars, but also hypercars, Aston Martin Valkyrie, also the KTM. I haven't been up to date what kind of new cars he has gotten in recent days, but very special, expensive cars. So it's already special when you have a car. It's even more special when you drive the car to its absolute limit and fullest. And it's also even more special when you only have one arm, because he had an accident, he lost an arm, and yet he still drives those cars to the limit nonstop on the track. As a matter of fact, he gets in the car and he drives, I think, until the fuel tank is empty. He just doesn't stop, does not care, and he drives it at a very fast pace. Now, of course, I call it disability in quotation marks. Of course, he's missing an arm, but I'm also calling these kind of things an ability because it inspires you to move forward. And in case of driving cars, you're forced to be better than an average person because you have to be better because you're missing one of the tools, which is arm to hold the steering wheel or shift gears. So in his case, most of the cars that he's driving, he has to shift with one hand. So with McLaren, it's quite easy because both the paddle shifts are interconnected, so you can just shift with one hand. Some cars require additional modification to be able to do so. Regardless, but also another thing is you cannot unsettle the car too much. So you have to be very smooth, like F1 driver smooth. And to make sure that the car doesn't unsettle, that you not lose traction, because catching a car with one arm is a bit trickier. It's possible, it's doable, it's okay, but you want to minimize the risk, you know. I asked him like, oh, that's your new toy, and I haven't been in one of these. If you want to later, should we go for a lap? I'm like, yeah, sure, anytime. And then like 2-3 hours later, when I was done with my other stuff, I'm like, yo, you have time? Yeah, sure, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna put my cameras. Yeah, okay, yeah. So my cameras went for a lap. I'm doing a one lap. And then on a track day, the difference between public sessions, because on public sessions, you go out, you do a lap, and you have to come off again. But you come off on the main straight. And the Nürburgring Nordschleife main straight is the longest straight of any racetrack straights in the world. It's close to 2 kilometers, so you can reach, if your car is capable of, 400 kilometers per hour, possibly. So over 300 in a modern supercar on a track day, you can reach it, and that's always a bit exceptional because you don't do it every day, and also not every day on the Nürburgring. So we've done the first lap. We take the straight, 300. So I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, we're going automatically. I already assumed we're going to go for a second lap because that's what you do on a track day. You usually go for a second lap, even for the fact that maybe you want to warm up the tires on the first lap and then you go for a second lap. It's done that. Then, second lap finishes. He's still on the straight, going for the third lap. Just so you know, Nürburgring Nordschleife, the longest track in the world, 20.832 kilometers.
Yeah.
A very fast lap is 7.5 minutes. 7 minutes, okay, in this particular pace and case. So we're already like, over 20 minutes in laps. I'm like, God damn. I got stuff to do, dude.
Yeah.
But I do not want to be that particular guy, because I'm also like, I'm kind of enjoying it because he's a great driver. But I'm also at a point where I'm in general, like, peak of the season, I'm running on like between 3 to 6 hours of sleep a day, depends on what kind of day it is. Like tired, and I'm very comfortable, and he's like going left and right, and I'm just, you know what, dude, cool, I'm gonna take a nap here. So I actually slept for, I think, half a lap or one lap, while this guy is like sending 700 horsepower race car around the most demanding racetrack in the world. I'm like, yeah, that was comfortable. And I do it more often, like not sleeping. Like, okay, maybe I had like 3 or 4 naps in my life on different other kind of cars. But whenever I trust the driver enough, and I'm calm, I actually on purpose close my eyes, because then I just try to feel where I am on track, because I cannot close my eyes when I'm driving. So when I'm a passenger, I like to take that opportunity to close my eyes and let other senses take over and feel where we are, or try to predict where we are. Actually, there is a video of me giving instructions blindfolded to the guy, and we have done a 7-minute
just
lap.
by feeling.
Yes, and I'm saying like, aim to the orange barrier, now brake here, turn in slightly on the brake, step on the brake, go to the right curbs and over the curb. I'm just saying that, and I'm actually pointing at things while I'm literally blindfolded, and it was spot on. Because back at the time, I was also a driving instructor. One of my my first years that I was at the Nürburgring, I was mostly instructing other people. So and that's something what I still like to do, and ended up being a very cool, fun experience and cool video.
I saw that video, and when he did like corners, he sometimes moved his hand upwards of the wheel. Yeah. Like, how strong does he have to be to be able to take such a car for so long with one arm?
You have to be strong for sure. I mean, you don't have to be strong to turn the steering wheel, because it has power steering. It's not exceptional. But the issue is that you have G-forces that move your head, move your torso, move your body, move your hand away.
When he's turning to the left, he has to like really...
Yes, you need to like hold yourself back. So that's, of course, more challenging and demanding.
How did it come about that you rode or did a lap with Walter Röll?
One of the most unforgettable memories, I would say, for me, and definitely for a general car guy, was a ride along with Walter Röll in a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. I had actually a couple of more ride-alongs with him, but it was mostly on ice in Sweden, where we talked about rallying and the golden days. And just for context, Walter Röll is one of the most successful and versatile race car drivers in the world, because he's been racing since the 70s, maybe slightly before, being quite dominant in the 80s and even 90s, even 2000s, because once he finished with his racing career, which was predominantly rally, WRC and World Rally Championship in the Group B. So whenever you think of the 80s of Group B, the Audi Quattro, the big boxy car, he was driving it. But he says himself that his biggest achievement was actually winning one of the most demanding rallies, Rally Monte Carlo, 4 times in 4 different cars. So he's done, I think, Lancia 037, which is a rear-wheel driven car. I think he's done then one of the Opels, which was front-wheel drive, and then I think the Group B, the S1, the Audi all-wheel drive, and then I think something else. I think, do not quote me on that, but when he said the biggest achievement of his is winning Rally Monte Carlo 4 times in different cars, which is exceptional, of course. Later on, he moved to IMSA. He was very active in 24 Hours of Nürburgring as well, and then later as a test and development driver for Porsche. So he was setting lap times here on the Nürburgring with the first GT3, the 996, later, of course, 997, up until the Carrera GT. And even 918, he was also part of the development team, the first car to go sub-7 on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. He was one of the drivers. So massive history. And then I think by now we're speaking about 2023 was the year. Yes, it was the first year that I was racing with Bilstein, the suspension manufacturer. I became one of their drivers of their race team. And Walter Röhrl is also their brand ambassador. So he is, he's been also racing, driving, testing, developing their suspension. And it was a Bilstein track day. So he was naturally invited there to be there, and since he's also like important ambassador of Porsche gave him a GT3 RS, so he was just doing laps that day. And he's one of the people who would, and I have to mention that the thing that I will remember always forever about him, it was not the lap or many laps I drove with him. It was when I didn't meet him, but observed him from the distance. I met him the very first time, I think actually in 2013 or 14, Autosport International in UK, where he would talk with fans for a very long time, but it was just an expo, it was an exhibition show, it was a special event, but he was there at the booth of, I think maybe even Bilstein as well. And he would speak with everyone for like many long minutes, and people would stay in line and wait for him, and etc. etc. So he would give everyone his time and piece of advice, and etc. But one of the more prominent times where I saw this in a more stressful environment was at one of the DTM races in 2019. I think it was Hockenheimring. It was DTM, and then they had also autograph session with the old school guys.
No.
Who were racing in the 90s, in the 80s, in 2000s, you name it. And all these gentlemen were between 50 and 80 plus year old, and big names, not to name everyone except for him. And it was an autograph session for half an hour. And when half an hour was gone, some people stayed for a bit. Some people just left immediately because they're too old for that stuff. I understand, I respect that, they want to enjoy their life more than just like signing for autographs. But they had to kick Walter out of the autograph table because they needed that area for something else. And as he was like getting up, he still kept on walking with the fans and signing autographs and talking to them. And even then, they said, Mr. Röhrl, we have to go to another appearance because we have to go and take a picture with someone, sponsor, these normal like brand ambassadorship things. And he said, nope, I'm with my fans here now. Sorry, give me another 5 minutes. I'm busy here. And that is something like, the person who has achieved everything in life, he would still give everything back to those people who made him what he is today. And there are multiple examples of him. I think 2 or 3 years ago, a local rock band made a song about driving the Nürburgring. And they asked him if he would be wanting to be a part of the video clip. I said, yeah, sure. So it's like this very fun song, and he's like part of it where he's teaching someone to become a professional, like a more professional driver in a way, like a karate kid. And he's basically a person who would never say no to anything. Like whenever someone comes and asks nicely, he would never say no. If you would send him now, like, I don't know, a postcard, he would send it back to you signed, even still today. So long story short, what I'm getting at is we were at the track day and he was there and I knew him from before multiple times. And I just asked like, you know what? I never ask usually people, but in your case, I'm going to do it. Like, would you take me for a lap? Because it's something like, let's do it. And no disrespect, and it's also even more impressive. But back at the time, I think Walter was 78 or 79 years old. He wasn't 80 yet, as far as I remember. I knew no matter you twist it or turn it, he's not going to be faster than the guys I have been with before, because I have been with multiple professional record-setting drivers, the current test and development and race car drivers. So I know he is not going to be this fast because he has nothing to prove. But it was exceptional. So also, whenever I trust a driver, sometimes I just like to close my eyes and just like soak in different kind of emotion. So you see me very peacefully there, closing my eyes and sitting, and I always love to read the comments.
Yeah.
Because the comments like, oh my God, they were going so fast that he was scared and he had to close his eyes. I'm like,
You're closing eyes, smiling.
like, no, when I'm closing my eyes, how silly it may sound, but it's the biggest way of showing respect from my side to the driver next to me, because I trust him fully, him or her, and I just want to soak in the moment because I know the track. I have been literally by now, like, I don't know, 12,000 times on passenger seat, on driver's seat, in a shit box, in a hypercar, in a supercar. I haven't been on a motorbike. I have been on my scooter though. I have been on foot, like literally, like you name it, I've been in it. So, and I know how it goes. I've seen all the iterations, like, and I've been in multiple Porsches. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. I'm not going to be sitting watching him. So what I want to like actually feel more better what he's doing in terms of driving inputs and what it does and how it is. And the same goes for other drivers, because sometimes I just want my other senses to take over. And for that, I close my eyes because I know where the track goes. I don't need to see where we're going because I know the track literally better than the road I drive every day from home to work, because I moved to the new house 3 years ago or 2 years ago, but I've been here for, like I said, 10 years. I'm doing it every day, multiple times a day. So I close my eyes and then I start enjoying like in a different way. And that was definitely very exceptional and very special. And we had a very nice talk afterwards. And I asked him like, hey, do you still enjoy it after all these years? And I think his answer was something like, yeah, but in a different way. I enjoy now more other things in life than this. And I think I need to watch the video back. But it was like something very
I saw a very cool thing. He was tracking a time on his watch. Do you remember that?
Yes, that was actually very special. It's from back in the days.
Yeah, because they used to do that, right?
Yeah. When the reason why all the current watch brands nowadays still are heavily involved with sponsoring motorsport or having one of the prominent F1 drivers or any race car drivers as their brand ambassador is because timekeeping in racing is a very important thing. Time is what you're up against when you're a race car driver. But in a literal sense of the word, but in the literal sense of the word, back in the days before the fancy telemetry, data logging, etc., you would simply use your watch or a stopwatch. And this is something that Walter has learned throughout the years to still do it. So
just like muscle memory, yeah?
Yeah, so when we went for the lap and he saw the bridge, which is like the starting point of the lap, I'm not sure even if he pressed the start button. I think he just looked at it. And then at the end, he looked at it again. Like, yeah, okay, was okay pace.
I think he didn't do like 7:20 something?
Yeah, it was a good pace.
Yeah.
It
looked extremely calm.
Again, no disrespect.
But for being like 78?
That's the thing. So you need to put things in perspective. Yeah. So it was, yes, everything below 8 minutes. And one of the most famous quotes of Walter Röhrl, for anything below 8 minutes on the Nürburgring, I do not put my helmet on. And that was already 20 years ago. So that was for him like, not fast or dangerous enough. So nowadays it's also extremely fast time, but as the cars and technology is getting faster, these cars are capable to run almost a minute faster on a full pace, on a maximum attack, on everything well set up. So even a 7-minute lap is possible with that car with an average driver. Like literally track day drivers, they go out and they do like 655, 650 or below with this particular car. It's not exceptional. But when you put it into perspective that it's someone who is 78 years old and is not there to set lap times, he has nothing to prove to anyone or anything because he's done literally everything out there, maybe with the exception of Formula One. But some might say that rallying is more complicated and demanding and challenging than F1, which I might agree. Yeah, it was, again, considering the total picture, it was a very special moment. It was 2019, and back at the time, I was working with Audi a lot, like the brand, actually. I was hosting their bi-weekly YouTube show about the car news. I was driving their cars as their sort of brand ambassador. I wouldn't say it that in that way, but like I was related to them. So they gave me Audi R8 to drive on the track day. And to have it also for a week, for a review, you name it, because my grandma would visit me from Russia for the very first time back at the time. And she was 80 years old, never been on a racetrack in her life, and I went for a lap with her. Before that, I took my mom, and my mom was like, Misha, do not drive like that, like you've done with me, with my mom, with your grandma, because no, absolutely not. It's not gonna end well, because, well, you might injure her just by G-forces. Like, okay, cool, mom, I'll take it easy. So, grandma gets inside the R8, we start doing a lap, and we're on a track day. So we start driving, and I'm like, "Are you fine, Grandma?" "Yes, I'm fine." "Okay, well, let's drive faster." I'm like, "Okay." Well, long story short, we hit the main straight, and we've done 300 kilometers per hour there. So I think she's probably the fastest grandma in the world on the Nürburgring. So we've done that, and that is something that will always stay with me. Fast forward 5 years later, and my grandma came back to the Nürburgring to celebrate her daughter's, my mom's, 60th birthday. So I took them out for laps again in a Porsche GT3, the 992 GT3 that I'm driving as a taxi car, etc., etc. So the R8 was done on a track day. So a track day, the track is fully open. You can stay on it as long as you want. This means you get to drive the main straight. So you get to reach a much higher speed that you usually do on a public day, because on a public day you have to get off every time you finish a lap on the straight. So you cannot hit that 2 kilometer straight. So we're doing the GT3 lap, and I see that my grandma is like doing like this, and I'm thinking like, is she like scared or she's uncomfortable because she's 85 years old? Like, I don't know. And I actually was driving like slower and smoother to make sure that, because I'm asking her like, "How you fine?" Like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm thinking that she's just saying to me like, "Don't be afraid for me because I want to be a tough grandma." So I'm like taking it easy, sort of. But we're still like, on the straights, you do the straight. It's more about the corner speeds. So we approach Schwedenkreuz. We're doing like maybe 260 or something. I don't know. So we finish the lap. We come off. And she asked me, like, "Was it good?" Like, yeah, was fine. Like, what speed did we do? Like, 260, 265. Last time we done 300. You gotten slower. Like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
So, and later, that's a funny thing on its own. And later, when I was watching the video back from a different angle with the camera facing at her, I actually saw that she was like trying to focus because she's not seeing that great anymore. Yeah. So she was not like being scared for what it would look like from my perspective looking at her. that she was having her eyes closed. She was actually closing one eye, the closest to me,
focus,
to focus on the track. And I'm like, shit, I could have gone faster. Not 300 because it's not possible without a straight, but
If people want to get more information about you, where would be the best place to get in contact with you and see what you do?
well, I guess nowadays social media, of course. You can find me YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you name it, LinkedIn. That's how you found me.
Yeah.
I read all of my stuff, but I do not have time to answer to everything. Especially not questions such as, what's better car, BMW M3 or Audi RS3? There is no such thing as better. What's better, a Bugatti or a Jeep?
Yeah.
You cannot take Bugatti to a desert. Does it mean that the old Jeep is better than Bugatti? It depends. Getting sidetracked with my brain over here. No, yeah, of course, social media, they can find out about me. They might be able to contact me. They might be able to send the email. They could knock on the door here at Vulcan Alpha or go to Ray Stretto, to my coffee shop, or you name it. Or the best way where they definitely gonna find me and I cannot escape anyone or everyone is during races. So at NLS, at 24 Hours of Nürburgring, there are special, autograph meet and greet sessions before every race. And I'll be standing next to my car, and you're definitely going to find me. And most likely also during other track days and public session days where I'll be driving either my car or someone else's car. You'll be able to see me or find me.
I think that's a pretty good place to wrap this up.
Yeah, thank you for coming over all the way from Sweden.
If you like this video and enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe to get notifications each time we post a new episode. It's right there. Thank you so much.